Hey guys, Free Tip Friday. As you can see, switching it up here, and I'm trying my hand at forging a layered Damascus billet. Don't know what that is? Well, I don't really either. So when you take a whole bunch of chunks of steel and you layer them together, you put a whole bunch of layers of steel together, and then you clamp that tight, you weld it together so they're tight, and then you stuff that in the forge, and when it's just white hot, 2,000 degrees, you just hammer it, and all these layers will become one piece of samurai steel. And then you draw it out, and then you fold it again, and you could keep doing that indefinitely and make this thing into like 1,000 layers if you want. I probably won't go that extreme because that would take days. But I'm just trying this out because I've always wanted to do it, and I'm probably speaking really loud right now because I got my earmuffs on. I got these German style safety goggles from Lee Valley Tools, and I gotta say they're pretty awesome. The reason why I went for them, not just because they look ridiculous, I went for them because they're actually like tempered laminated glass lenses. So obviously glass doesn't scratch like plastic does. And they've got this nice little metal rim around the front so that when you do put them down on the bench, like everybody does eventually, the lenses don't actually touch the bench and get scratched. You know, like those cheap plastic ones you get, it's like you can't put them down any way without them rolling over and scratching. And then when you're working with scratched glasses, it's like it's more dangerous than working without glasses, in my opinion. Because you can't see what you're doing, and it's all, blah. So I got these goggles, and I'm liking them so far. They're comfortable, but you know, they do kind of press on the eyeballs, but they prevent any kind of sparks from shooting up in behind glasses. I've had sparks in my eyeball while wearing safety glasses, face shields, because the sparks come up and like bounce off your face and then the glass and hit you in the eye anyway. So it's like, these are pretty much the safest goggles I could find as far as protecting your eyeballs. So they look ridiculous, but they work. I got them at Lee Valley online, so if you're in the States, you can go to leevalleytools.com and find them there. I'll put a link in the description box below. All right, today's tip. I am not a blacksmith by any means, but I plan on becoming one. One of the cool things I learned reading a book, a knife-making book, I'll put a link to the book in the description below because I don't remember the title right offhand, but it's a really great how-to book that just takes you through the whole process of making your own knives. And he said the author said one way to know what kind of steel you're using, because I know that's kind of like the biggest thing is like, how do you know if you got good steel, right? Like any piece of steel work for a knife? No. So there's just a ton of science and metallurgy to know about the qualities of good steel and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, for a beginner, one of the easiest ways to know if you have a good high carbon steel that'll be good for a knife or a tool is to do what's called a spark test. So whatever piece of steel you have, even some of this old rusty steel can be amazing quality steel. You don't know where it came from, when it was made, right? So don't make assumptions about a piece of steel just by the way it looks. It might be really good quality. So I've got a piece of an old file here, an old flat bastard, and I've got this, I don't even know what this was. I found this on my property. So I wanted to do a spark test to see if it's, quality carbon steel or it's closer to, just lower carbon steel. So when you're doing a spark test, you just grab your grinder and you can tell if it has a high carbon content by the quality and the appearance of the sparks coming off when you hit it with the grinder. So when you hit high carbon steel with a grinder, the sparks coming off will look like a sparkler. They'll be like a bright white kind of a spark, and then at the end of the spark, as it fizzles out, it kind of bursts. It's like a little starburst on the end of each spark coming off the grinder. So you'll see these complex like little starbursts coming off just like a sparkler would. And then with lower carbon steel, the sparks will be more orangey, and they won't be as kind of complex as they fork. As they spark at the end of before they fizzle out, the sparks will kind of only have 3 or 4 little directions, whereas with a high carbon steel, it'll just like explode almost. So I'll show you a close-up demo right here. So here's the high carbon steel. You can see how the sparks are just super fine and complex, and then the low carbon steel. They're just not as dense and fine. They're thicker pieces, and then they're not as complex. So it's kind of a fine line. But the more you do it, you'll see the difference. The more you look closely. So here's one last test, as close up as I want to get my camera. Here's the high carbon steel. And here's what the sparks look like on a mild, less quality steel. So files will obviously be like really, really high carbon bright because they're made, to deal with ridiculous amounts of wear. But that's not to say you can't make a good blade out of other. This is from a giant circular saw blade from a sawmill, so it's got a really, probably more like tungsten and vanadium, like tough wearing steel. So you can see it's not quite as complex as the file, but it's still pretty bright and complex. All right, so that was your tip for this week. I just wanted to ask you a quick question before you go. How would you guys like to be involved in helping me build something awesome? This channel is obviously about woodworking and creating and doing stuff in the shop. But I can see now that with as big audiences we have an opportunity to do something like a lot bigger and kind of affect more people than just kind of ourselves doing our thing here. And I know that majority of my audience you guys are just rock solid people, even though I haven't met you personally. So I just wanted to offer an opportunity. A friend of mine, a personal friend of mine, him and his wife just decided like a year ago that they were just going to sell everything here in Victoria. Their home, give up their jobs at the bank, their cushy retirement, and just move to Uganda to give money to the poor and live there and actually like help people in need directly. So he just recently sent me an email about a family that he's met there it's basically a single mom, but the father kind of comes in and out, and she's raising 7 children on her own in the slums of Africa in Uganda. And she doesn't even have like a house with walls. It's literally just like a stick fort with a few sheets of metal for a roof. So they're completely exposed to like mosquitoes, malaria, monsoon rains, all this sort of stuff. And so he's built a fundraiser page. I know everybody's getting asked for money all the time. It's like, give to this foundation, give to this foundation. And it's like half the time we don't even know. It's like you give money and, these big foundations, you're just paying some CEO's salary or, the money doesn't even actually reach people in need. But this is a unique situation where this money is going directly to the mission field to like help these people in need. So you can be like 100% sure that this money is being used to actually change people's lives directly. I'm not going to schmooze it anymore because I'm starting to feel like a televangelist asking for money. I'm believing that if you give me $5, that tomorrow when you wake up, you're going to be blessed. There'll be $5,000 under your pillowcase. Okay, starting to feel weird. So I'm going to give $100 because I got walls on my house and food in my fridge, and I can afford to give $100 because I'm not going to miss that money. The way I see it is just like I'm going to spend that on like coffee and beer and donuts in the next couple weeks anyways. So I'll just not do that. Give that money to help some people. You're going to help somebody in need, win. You're going to lose weight because you're not eating junk food, win. How do I sweeten this up? And because you lose weight, your wife's going to find you more attractive and want to have sex with you more. Win, win, win. All right? So go donate some money. We'll see you in the next video. Samurai out.